pull the hood release latch located under the steering wheel. Release the hood safety latch and raise the hood. The master cylinder is mounted on the front of the power booster unit in the left rear corner of the engine compartment. The brake fluid level is checked by looking through the plastic reservoir mounted on the master cylinder. The fluid level should be between the maximum and minimum lines on the side of the reservoir. If the fluid level is low, wipe the top of the reservoir and the cap with a clean rag to prevent contamination of the system, as the cap is unscrewed. While the reservoir cap is off, check the master cylinder reservoir for contamination. If rust deposits, dirt particles, or water droplets are present, the system should be properly drained and refilled. Top up the reservoir with the specified type of brake fluid until the fluid reaches the maximum line. After filling the reservoir to the proper level, install the cap and make sure the cap is fully seated to prevent fluid leakage and/or contamination. The fluid level in the master cylinder will drop slightly as the brake shoes or pads at each wheel wear down during normal operation. A very low level may indicate worn brake pads. Check for brake pad wear. If the brake fluid level drops consistently, check the entire system for leaks immediately. Engine oil is checked with a dipstick, which is located on the left driver's side of the engine. The dipstick extends through a metal tube down into the oil pan. The engine oil should be checked before the vehicle has been driven or about 15 minutes after the engine has been shut off. If the oil is checked immediately after driving the vehicle, some of the oil will remain in the upper part of the engine, resulting in an inaccurate reading on the dipstick. Pull the dipstick out of the tube and wipe all of the oil away from the end with a clean rag or paper towel. Insert the clean dipstick all the way back into the tube and pull it out again. Note the oil at the end of the dipstick. At its highest point, the oil should be above the minimum mark and below the maximum mark. To add oil, remove the filler cap from the valve cover. Use a funnel to prevent oil spillage. After adding oil, wait a few minutes to allow the level to stabilize. Then pull out the dipstick and check the level again. Add more oil if required. Checking the oil level is an important preventive maintenance step. A consistently low oil level indicates oil leakage through damaged seals, defective gaskets, or past worn rings or valve guides. The condition of the oil should also be noted. If the oil looks milky in color or has water droplets in it, the cylinder head gaskets may be blown or the heads or block may be cracked. If this is the case, the engine should be repaired immediately. If you see small dirt or metal particles clinging to the dipstick, the oil should be changed. The level in the tank varies with the temperature of the engine. When the engine is cold, the coolant level should be at or slightly above the full cold mark on the reservoir. Once the engine has warmed up, the level should be at or near the full hot mark. If it isn't, allow the engine to cool, then remove the coolant reservoir cap and add a 50-50 mixture of ethylene glycol-based antifreeze and water. If only a small amount of coolant is required to bring the system up to the proper level, water can be used. However, repeated additions of water will dilute the antifreeze and water solution. Drive the vehicle, then recheck the coolant level. If the coolant level drops consistently, there may be a leak in the system. Inspect the radiator, hoses, filler cap, drain plugs, and water pump. If no leaks are noted, have the radiator cap pressure tested by a service station. If coolant or steam escapes, let the engine cool down longer, then remove the cap. Also, check the condition of the coolant. It should be relatively clear. If it's brown or rust-colored, the system should be drained, flushed, and refilled. Even if the coolant appears to be normal, the corrosion inhibitors wear out, so it must be replaced at the specified intervals. Since transmission fluid expands as it heats up, the fluid level should only be checked when the transmission is warm and at normal operating temperature to achieve an accurate reading. If the vehicle has just been driven over 20 miles, the transmission can be considered warm. Immediately after driving the vehicle, park it on a level surface, set the parking brake, and let the engine idle. While the engine is idling, depress the brake pedal and move the selector lever through all the gear ranges, beginning and ending in park. Locate the automatic transmission dipstick tube in the engine compartment. With the engine still idling, pull the dipstick away from the tube, wipe it off with a clean rag, then push it all the way back into the tube and withdraw it again. Note the fluid level at the end of the dipstick. When the transmission is warm, the fluid level should be in the operating temperature range, which is within the crosshatched area. If the level is low, add the specified automatic transmission fluid through the dipstick tube. Use a clean funnel to prevent spills. Add just enough of the recommended fluid to fill the transmission to the proper level. It takes about 1 pint to raise the level from the low mark to the high mark when the fluid is hot, so add the fluid a little at a time and keep checking the level until it's correct. Turn off the engine. The condition of the fluid should also be checked along with the level. If the fluid is black or a dark reddish-brown color, or if it smells burned, it should be changed. If you are in doubt about its condition, purchase some new fluid and compare the two for color and smell. Power steering fluid level can be viewed through the translucent reservoir body and should be between the minimum and maximum marks when the engine is cold. If the level is checked when the engine is running or hot, the level may rise slightly above the maximum mark. If adding fluid is required, wipe the area around the cap with a clean rag, then remove the reservoir cap. Do not let dirt enter the system when adding fluid. Using a funnel, if necessary to prevent spillage, top up the reservoir using only the specified type of fluid. Do not overfill the reservoir. When the level is correct, securely install the cap. Fluid for the windshield washer system is stored in a plastic reservoir located on the right passenger side of the engine. Flip open the cap and fill the windshield washer reservoir as necessary. Then press the cap securely in place when finished.